Wonderful.
The mother, what do you call her?
Well, Ana Maria, maybe you can talk to us just a little bit about, I mean, before you have to leave, just talk to us a little bit about peace in your tradition, in the Catholic tradition. I know it's a big
Yes, of
topic and
course.
it's a
Yeah.
massive topic, but at least some ideas or maybe some nuggets of wisdom that you might want to share.
Yeah, no, that has been the beginning of this movement, because it was related to the in between the two wars, and that is they have this strange name of Paz Romana because it's we don't like it, but it's complicated to change right now. And then that was born during the period of the war, but I can explain that and what is the idea.
Please, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I start.
Yeah, please start. Yeah, because I know you have to leave. So, and then we'll start at 12. Then I'll do the official introduction. Yeah.
Well, then good morning, everybody. I am Ana Maria Videgain. I am a professor of religious studies, and I am also part of an international organization that is called Paz Romana. And it is an organization that started 1 century ago in Switzerland. In 1921, there was a group of students totally worrying about the situation in the interwar time. Then a student from Switzerland, Spain, and Holland decide to call other students that even they have been involved in the First War to be part of an international network of Catholic students that will be engaged on looking for peace, a pacifist group. And years later, in the 46, even though because they saw the situation, the international situation was complicated, but finally there was the Second War. And after the Second War, they were aware of the responsibility of the intellectuals and the professional and the promotion of peace between men and between the nations. Then they create another organization, also an international organization. And at the time, one of the chaplain was Montini, and Montini became later Paul VI, the Pope Paul VI. Then this organization have a strong presence during the Vatican Council. And they have been promoting this issue, were totally immersed in issues regarding the peace. And right now, also this movement is very engaged because we have several communities in Ukraine. Then they are there confronting the situation, and also our communities in Poland are working with the refugees, particularly this. Then what I would like to say is that I have all these contacts, but in many places, particularly in Asia and Africa, these organizations need to work necessarily and in because their situation with the international, with an interfaith proposal, because their context is. And then I know that, for example, in Sri Lanka right now, with the complicated situation that they are living, the conflicts, economical and social and political conflict they are living, they are doing many work between Catholic and Buddhist. Then what I would like only to share is that I have this contact, and if we decide to work, we will see. Of course, in a more large perspective, there has been a lot of encyclical and letter and documents coming from the Vatican right now with Francis, because he is particularly interested in the interreligious dialogue and and also he promoted, since he was in Argentina, an organization for the international dialogue. Then that is what I can share for now, and later perhaps we can see other issues that I can share with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ana Maria. So I think one of the things that, part of the reason that we're here today, and I'm very happy to have so many scholars from around the country and around the world that are joining us, thinkers and activists, and just people that are interested, is really to think about what are the challenges that we face as a world, as we see the kind of the global shift that's happening in the world, right? So we see kind of the global order, the older global order that developed after World War II, and particularly kind of the Western-based, liberal order, is fracturing, and we see kind of the rise of China and kind of the rise of the Sinosphere and the Anglosphere as two very different modes of how we are to live in the world, right? So it's not necessarily just about technology, but it's the question is, what are the fundamental ideas about how we organize our societies? Is it the rights of the community that are the most important thing, or is it the rights of the individual that are sacrosanct, or somewhere in between? And where does that leave us, sort of as individuals, as nation states, and ultimately sort of as a world, right? And we're confronting issues of global climate change. We're dealing with wars and the possibility of nuclear sort of escalation, both in the Pacific and also in Europe. So these are major issues, and we live in an age that of a globalized world. Ideas, people were able to shift very quickly. Social media is a really big one that's kind of really transformed how we integrate and talk to each other. So I think for us, what we're trying to do is we're trying through this program is to kind of just to begin to think about what are some avenues by which we can connect with each other as scholars, as individuals, and as researchers. What are the paths with regards to thinking deeply about religion that haven't really been completely thought through, right? So I feel like, especially in the age of globalization, there are many avenues of interfaith collaboration that have really yet to be systematically pursued. And particularly at an international level. I mean, I talked a little bit earlier, we were talking about kind of the Abrahamic dialogue, that's one thing, Christians, Jews, and Muslims, and you have kind of the Eastern traditions of South Asia, Buddhists, Jains, and Sikhs that have their own, sort of collaboration and connections, but really creating a global conversation. And then thinking about what are some best practices that we as scholars, as individuals, and as societies, we can kind of take that would unite us in terms of having and continuing these dialogues. And particularly, I think, really at a very practical level, political de-escalation. I think that's a very important, sort of consideration for us. So I think those are just some of the ideas I think that I wanted to kind of to put out there. And the common theme behind a lot of this is the idea of peace. I think that's something that's that exists within all religious traditions, and one of the stated aims of many religious traditions, right? So part of the expansion of religion in many traditions, or the spread of religions across the world, at some level was to create some sort of unified understanding of our connection to the supernatural and our connection to each other. So peace is kind of underlying many of these ideas. And so that's something that is important for us, I think, in terms of trying to better understand what each of the traditions have to say about peace, and then through that to begin a sort of a global dialogue. So this is part, and we're very excited. This is part of Miami's 10 Days of Connection. So we're here with some of the scholars and sort of community leaders. So we have Joanne that's here from Radical Partners, and Luisana, who is also here from Radical Partners. And they've been our partners for the last 2 or 3 years now, I think. So it's been quite amazing to be able to now do this physically in person. For the last 2 years, we've done it by the pandemic virtually. So I think with that, I want to maybe Joanne, do you have maybe anything you'd like to say before we start?
No, Iqbal, thank you so much. I think you're doing a great job.
Okay, all right, great. Okay, so I think with that, I would like to begin our presentation with the recitation of the Quran. So we have two scholars that can help us with that. So I think I'll start off with Abdurrahman. I think, do you know where he? Give me 1 minute. Let me just find him. And then. Sorry, just give me 1 minute. We're here in the faculty club. So this is the summer faculty club attendance. How about I'll also go around and everyone can introduce themselves here. If you want to, you can just say who you are.
Yes, I'm Dr. Hussein Mia. I'm from Sri Lanka, about which you just spoke. We are having difficulties there. I am here as a Fulbright resident scholar, and I'll be here till end of October. Yes, I'm passing on to you. Please, thank you.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. I'm Anaram Shah. I'm from Pakistan. I'm here on Fulbright Foreign Language Teaching Assistant Fellowship. So I'm supposed to teach Urdu language, and I'm representing Pakistan Urdu language and Islamic culture. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Zahra Hazari. I am a faculty member, professor of science education here at Florida International University.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Syed Abdullah. I am from Pakistan, and I'm an imam of the Hollandal Beach community.
Hello, everybody. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Salah. I'm a student at FIU, PhD student. Nice to meet you all.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Abdurrahman, a graduate of the University of Pennsylvania. Eid Mubarak.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Muttahar Chaudhary. I'm the Muslim community in Hallandale Beach, originally from Pakistan. I'm by profession a pharmacist. Assalamu alaikum.
Hi, everyone. Joanne Goloy here from Radical Partners. And I'm just lucky to be here surrounded by all this wisdom around us.
Hello, this is Chintan. I'm from India. I'm also here on a Fulbright fellowship. I'm also very happy to be over here with all this galaxy of intellectuals. Thank you.
Sure.
Hello everyone, my name is Oad Fadida. I'm going for a PhD in psychology, and I'm very excited to be here.
Hi everyone, my name is Brisana Sambrano. I am here also from Radical Partners, and I'm super excited to be sharing this space with all of you.
Hello, my name is Philip Shami. I just graduated with an MA in Religious Studies in December. I'm very happy to be here to talk about my specialty, mysticism.
All right, wonderful. All right, thank you guys all for coming. Oh yes, hold on 1 minute. All right, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Etra. I'm a lawyer in town. I'm a board member of the American Jewish Committee. I'm here on their behalf, as well as the Muslim Jewish MJAC. I'm not sure what the AC is, but I know it's a good thing that we're working together, and very happy.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. All right. So with that, I think what I'll do is I'll turn it off to Abdurrahman if you want to come here, or I can here. Let me take the computer view, and you can just both of you guys. Then Salah. Okay.
So you can sit comfortably on that.
No, I have space here. Yeah, you just can hold it.
Yeah. Let's see if they can hear you.
Yeah, they can. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياؤهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون صدق الله العظيم. That's it.
Okay, yeah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله نور السماوات والأرض مثل نوره كمشكاة فيها مصباح المصباح في زجاجة الزجاجة كأنها كوكب دري يوقد من شجرة مباركة زيتونة لا شرقية ولا غربية يكاد زيتها يضيء ولو لم تمسسه نار نور على نور يهدي الله لنوره من يشاء ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس والله بكل شيء عليم في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال رجال لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة يخافون يوما تتقلب فيه القلوب والأبصار ليجزيهم الله أحسن ما عملوا ويزيدهم من فضله والله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب.
All right, wonderful. So one of the translations, I mean, there are a couple of verses, but one of the translations of the verses is God is the light of the heavens and the earth. The example of his light is like a niche within which is a lamp. The lamp is within glass, the glass as if it was a pearly white star, lit from the oil of a blessed olive tree, neither of the east nor of the west, whose oil would almost glow as if untouched by light, light upon light. God guides to his light whom he wills, and God presents examples for the people, and God is knowing of all things. So with that, I am going to give it to Ahad, who will talk to us a little bit about peace in the Jewish tradition.
Hello, everyone. So thank you so much, Dr. Akhtar, and thank you so much, FIU, and for all the people who were able to organize this wonderful event. I wanted to share with you a short insight on peace from the Torah tradition, from Jewish wisdom. So if we look at Genesis chapter 11, after the flood, famous Noah's flood, so we have the Tower of Babel, famous Tower of Babel, that we find the people united by one language, by one dialect, one way of looking at the world. And what they desire to do is they say, let us build a tower with its head, with its top into the heaven. And the reasoning for why they do this is they say, lest we spread. So they were concerned that as the population was growing, that as the population was starting to sprawl out onto the land, what will happen? They'll lose their one language. They'll start becoming diverse. They'll start developing different ways of looking at things, different ways, different dialects, different ways of understanding. So what they said was, let us build a tower with its head into the heaven as a way of a national landmark, so that everyone, wherever they are, will always be united by one distinct central area. And God sees this, and obviously he's not so happy. And he destroys the tower, and he switches their languages, and subsequently they all spread across the land. The rabbis in the Midrashic text, so they explain, they see this and they say, what were they trying to do? They were trying to wage war against God. And the question is, where did they get this from? Like, the text clearly says they were just trying to build the tower with its head to the heavens, so lest they spread. What the rabbis are trying to tell us is not that they literally were trying to wage war, but that God runs his world with diversity. God runs his world with differences, with uniqueness. And when one tries to stifle that, when one tries to supplant some form of overarching, crush all that diversity by building a tower, forcing everyone into one way of looking at the world, they are essentially waging war against God. Their reasoning was accurate, right? Diversity is scary, it's chaotic, it creates contention, it creates difficulty getting along with one another. But God says, that's exactly what I want. What I want is there for there to be unique and differences. I want there for there to be different languages, different ways of looking at the world. Peace in Hebrew, the word peace is shalom. Comes from the word of shalem, whole, integrated, integrity. Not civility. Civility is quiet. It's not rocking the boat. It's not being contentious. It's going back to Thanksgiving, to your family and not talking politics and religion, right? Why? Not to rock the boat, not to be too contentious. In the Jewish tradition, it's no. There's going to be yelling, there's going to be shouting, there's going to be disagreement, there's going to be people fighting with one another because we're diverse, and that's beautiful. And that's what we want. We want all of the diverse elements of the world around us to be integrated into one. And when all of the diverse elements within their diversity are able to integrate, that is when we reach true shalom, true peace. In the Midrash, we say, God only created his world for one thing, and that is shalom, that is for peace. He wants all of the unique, diverse elements of the world around us, within ourselves, within our communities, in our nations, in our world, to be integrated into one within the diversity. And only then can we accept true unity and true shalom. So my blessing is that we'll be able to achieve true shalom, not just civility, which is important, but not just civility, but true peace. Thank you.
Wonderful, beautiful. So next I'll turn it over to Professor Carlos, who will be talking a little bit about the peace in the Islamic tradition.
Hi, everybody. Everybody on Zoom can see and hear me? Hold on. Where's this beautiful tunes coming from? Okay. All right, so this was a sort of impromptu set of remarks, but hopefully, there'll be something you guys will find beautiful in this. First of all, I'm really glad you introduced the theme of diversity and how peace and diversity are really interconnected concepts, especially in the Abrahamic religions. Those of you who come from the Islamic tradition certainly know the verses in the Quran that mention that God created humankind in various races and colors and varieties so that we may know each other, right? This is part of the divine intention. Diversity is God did not create us all alike in any way, but through that difference comes the divine intention for what humans are supposed to be. So I'm not really going to dwell on that theme though, because that's not what I prepared. I want to go a little bit more abstractly on the term peace, salam, which is cognate with Hebrew shalom in Semitic languages. It's not new to anybody here that the term peace or salam is very important in Islamic discourse. Even the very name Islam is etymologically connected with this term peace, denoting how acceptance or submission of the divine will is part of acceptance of the sort of peace that is inherent in the center of God. So Islam's very name evokes the peace that comes with the acceptance of God's will. And non-Muslims also know that the term peace has evolved into a greeting, just as it is in Hebrew. It's part of every prayer in which Muslims evoke, they say, Assalamu alaikum, to not only the prophet and the righteous prophets, but also all righteous people. It's in every prayer to wish upon them peace. But I feel it's worth thinking for a moment about what this term salam really means. Does it simply describe this kind of outward sense of the word peace that we have when we speak it in English? No fighting, sort of tranquility? Or is there something a little bit deeper in this concept of peace? And I think to get at this question, I have to step for a moment into the mindset of a theologian and examine, first of all, the idea of God in Islam. The concept of God in Islam, just as in Christianity and in Judaism and in the Eastern traditions as well, insists first and foremost that God is perfect. God is absolutely perfect. He has total completion, kamal in Arabic. And this is something that only God really has. God is unified within God's own self. God is not comprised of parts interacting with each other. God is completely one and simple and requires no changes to God's own essence. Because God needs nothing, God has no deficiency of any kind. God does not then evolve or metamorphose because God has no need to evolve or metamorphose. God is always in a state of the most perfect stability. He's completely self-sufficient. As the Quran says in one of its most famous verses, God is singular, God is completely self-sufficient. So God then is absolutely at peace. And in this peace is expressed in one of the 99 names through which God describes himself in the Quran, alsalām, the same word, peace. Peace itself is an attribute of God. And it is most perfect in God alone, not in that which is created. We have to strive for that, but it is perfect within God. So then each time salam is wished upon another person or upon anything, then it is the name of God that's being invoked here. It's not a simple trivial wish for peace and harmony amongst each other, but it is actually a wish that one may participate kind of in the nature of God, which is the epitome of peace. Some part of God's peace is intended to be shared by those who greet and are greeted. To put this another way, peace is an attribute of God, and to wish for and to work for peace is a way in which a human being can approach the peace that is at the heart of the Creator. Islamic tradition sometimes discusses how spiritual progress is a matter of gaining the traits of God. And one of these, of course, is the absolute harmony and ease that is at the heart of God's nature, expressed by the name as-salam. So in many different ways, the Quran expresses how peace and cultivating it in oneself and in others is a human potentiality, not always a human actuality, that bridges the gulf between creation and God. Insofar as peace can be achieved amongst each other, and just as importantly within ourselves, then we are on a road to the peace that arrives at the end in salvation, which is union and divine peace. So I'll close by with a passage from the Quran that describes this kind of ultimate goal of all of us, which is to arrive at the peace that is part of God. But the righteous will be in the gardens with springs. God will say, enter them in peace and safety, and we will remove any bitterness from their hearts, and they will be like brothers sitting on couches face to face. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
So we have another perspective from the Islamic tradition. And with that, what I'll do is I will introduce our FIU Muslim chaplain, Mr. Kamruz Hussain, who is also a major force in the interfaith movement in South Florida. So with that, I will ask Chaplain Hussain to all right, there you go.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace and blessings of Almighty God be with us all here today. I wish to congratulate and thank Iqbal for having set up this little forum here, which I think is much needed in our society today. I'm president of an organization called Jamanol, Jews and Muslims and Christians and people of all faiths. And we have been in existence for about 20 years. And the purpose is about bringing about peace and understanding among peoples of different faiths. We have been fairly successful in doing so. And we have been bridging the gap between the different faiths, because we are not about converting anybody, but helping us understand each other in accordance with that dictate in Al-Quran, which says, our brother, previous brother had mentioned it in passing, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhan nasu inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wal unsa wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qabaila lita'arafu innal akramakum indallahi landaqakum innallaha alimul kabir. 49:13 says, O mankind, indeed we have created you from a single male and a female and made you into peoples of different tribes, different religions, different ethnicities, that you may know, understand, and appreciate each other. Indeed, the most noble of you in the sight of Almighty God is the most righteous of you, and Allah indeed knows and is acquainted with all things. So this is one of the bases of our relationship with our peoples. Almighty God said that he has created us from a single being, a single male and a female. And the purpose of it was to have diversity, to have differences, but for us not to cause these differences to be a means of discord or disharmony. But the differences is supposed to be like that, a painting is not made up of one color, but it's made up of different colors to make it beautiful, to make it interesting. And that is what we are about. So we don't want everybody to be the same like someone from Pakistan or from India or from Saudi Arabia or from America. We need to have differences, and that differences of opinions, differences of feelings, differences of food and clothing and language and beliefs. And that is the challenge of the different scriptures that Almighty God has sent down. He said, and the Quran again says, O Muhammad, the book in truth, he sent the Quran, which is a book in truth, confirming that which was sent before as revealed in the Quran, the Torah and the Gospel. So God is saying that this Quran is not a new message. It is a message that is confirming that which went before. And all of this is revealed to us so that we will be in a position of understanding and appreciation of our brothers and sisters of different faiths. One of the problems we are facing here today is that we worship the religion and we do not worship the teachings of the religion. In that if we go to the core values of each one of the religions that have been revealed by Almighty God, we'll find that the basic fundamentals and the teachings are the same. And if we follow, if each and every one of us follow, if we're a Christian and we follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, Isa alayhi salam, or if we follow Musa, or if you follow David or Abraham, which one of the other leaders or messengers of Almighty God that we follow, we would find that we will be able to interact and coexist with our brothers and sisters in love, in harmony, and peace. And that is what it's all about. But if we tend to use the religion as something that is materialistic, where mine is better than yours, then we have a problem. We have a major problem. And that is one of the big problems that we are facing today. Everyone wants to say, and our leaders especially want to say that my religion is better than your religion. And if you not belong to my religion or the way of my thinking, then we cannot get along. Almighty God says, Lakum dinakum waliya din. To me, my belief, to my thinking, my understanding, and to you, yours. He also said there is no compulsion in religion. Here is the Almighty Creator of all things telling you that there is no compulsion in religion. Why we human beings should try to impose a compulsion of religion on our followers and our members of our communities. That is what the problem is. The more you get involved in your faith, the more you understand your individual faiths, the more you'll be able to understand and appreciate and live in harmony and peace with your fellow men. And I hope and pray that forums such like this will go out to the general public, and we'll have to know that the more religious that you get, the more accommodating that you will become. Almighty God says in Al-Quran and he's talking here 9:6. He's talking about the people who were anti-Islam, anti the teachings, anti-Muhammad, and they were polytheists and they were idolaters. But yet he says, and if any one of the polytheists or the idolaters seeks your protection, if they seek your protection, grant him the protection so that he may hear the word of God. Then deliver him to a place of safety. This is because they are people who do not know. So here it's incumbent upon those who know to teach who don't know, those who have to look after those who don't have. So the more knowledge and the more information you have on your faith and the more understanding you have of your faith, the more you'll be able to appreciate people who are not of your faith. And inshallah, as like I said, I hope and pray that we'll be able to get this message out to the wider community and serve that purpose that religion was supposed to serve. And that is to bring peoples together, not divide them, not to create this discord or disharmony, but to bring about peace and love among all peoples. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mom. I appreciate that. So next, we're going to turn and move on to the Hindu faith tradition. And with that, we would start off with Danish Budran. So with that, I'll turn it over to Danish and I'll replace the spotlight. All right, Danish, please.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. Namaste in the Hindu or Sanskrit greeting, which says, I bow to the divinity within each and every one of you. I'm very proud and very honored to be here, and thank you to Dr. Akhtar and for FIU for thinking of me and allowing me to speak today about peace in the faith of Hinduism. In Hinduism or Sanatana Dharma, peace is a very great tool that we can utilize to associate ourselves with God. In Hinduism, God is known as Bhagwan or Bhagwanji, and Bhagwanji is defined as truth, consciousness, and bliss. And by associating ourselves with Bhagwanji, we can become better, we can elevate ourselves, make ourselves higher in our lives. So I have a little PowerPoint here to just talk about peace and give a nice introduction. So as you can see in this photo, we have someone meditating who is none other than Mother Parvati. She is a form of the Divine Mother in Hinduism, and she completed great penance or great tapasya in order to marry Lord Shiva. Mother Parvati, she was born as the daughter of the king Parvat, who was the king of the mountains, and she herself became heavily devoted to Lord Shiva. And what she did in the Shiv Puran, in one of the scriptures, is in order to show her power and her strength, she went into the forest and did great amount of penance, great amounts of meditation, great amounts of fasting. And through that, she was able to become very powerful, and Lord Shiva recognized her as none other than Divine Mother, and they were reunited. However, the reason I put this photo as my beginning slide is to show a great example of how peace is in Hinduism. Peace is what can help bring us to a higher state and a better state. And we can become just like Mother Parvati. We can go from being an ordinary person to divinity through peace, Hinduism. So I begin by quoting a verse from the Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, which is a summary of the Upanishad philosophy or the thoughts of philosophy in the Vedas. And my apologies for the alarm. And in Sanatana Dharma, the Bhagavad Gita is a conversation given to Arjuna by Bhagwan Shri Krishna ji. And Lord Krishna counsels him at the battlefield because Arjuna had to fight with his cousins, the Kauravas, to received the throne of Hastinapur. And when Arjuna sees his cousins and his family members on the opposite side of the battlefield, he becomes very distraught, very depressed, very confused. And Lord Krishna gives him the teachings, the Bhagavad-Gita. And in chapter 2, there's a verse that says, Apurya manam achala pratishtam samudram apa pravishanti yadvat tadvat kama yam pravishya sarve shashantim apnoti nakama kami. So Lord Krishna says that just as the ocean remains undisturbed by the flows of water from rivers merging into it, a person who has peace and attains peace, they are able to control themselves and not fall victim to any of the desires. Having peace teaches us control. We're able to control our minds, we're able to control our bodies, our emotions, and we're able to think and do better and think better. So in this case of Arjuna, Arjuna was learning from Lord Krishna how to develop peace and how to grow peace. And in chapter 2, it gives a nice summary of the teachings that Lord Krishna elaborates in later parts. He goes into more detail explaining different types of yogas, different types of paths, for example, the path of karma or path of action, the path of bhakti, the path of devotion, or the path of gyan, which means the path of knowledge. So as I was saying, peace leads us to a higher mode. Peace will allow us to concentrate better, to focus less on the maya or the illusion in this world. So for example, I'm giving this presentation, however, I might not be focusing on the presentation. Maybe I might be focusing on the window outside, might be looking at the sky, I might be looking at the things around me, the furniture. I might be thinking about how cold it is, and I can become very, very lost. And in the same way of myself becoming lost in my surroundings, it is the same human experience that Hindus have as they go through the samsara or they go through their life. And having peace allows me to concentrate better and to focus on oneness. And that oneness is God in the scriptures. So by having peace, we can better reflect on that divine nature of God, of truth, consciousness, and bliss. And we can be just like the great saints and sages. Those great saints and sages, they've been able to master peace through controlling their senses and emotions. So there's a prayer found in the Yajurveda, which speaks about peace. It says, Om Dhyau Shanti, Antarikshagam Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Apa Shanti, Ushade Shanti, Vanaspati Shanti, Vishwadeva Shanti, Brahma Shanti, Sarvagam Shanti, Shanti Deva, Shanti Sama, Shanti Riddhi. In the Vedas, it describes, it asks, oh God, may you grant peace to the sky, to the space, to the earth, to the waters, to the trees, to all of the deities, to all nature, everywhere. And this is a common prayer that is chanted before we begin worshiping, before we do pujas. And is also said by many people before they give a lecture or they explain teachings, because they want peace around them to take advantage of the power of peace. And Shanti, as you might know, is a common term. A lot of people use it in yoga, or they use it colloquially. Shanti meaning peace. It's often chanted 3 times, and it's chanted 3 times because the first time it's done is to ask for peace in the physical or the antibiotic realm, which is the environment around us, for example, the people, the animals, the weather. Secondly, through the Adidevic or the divine realm, which is all of the deities and if there's any negative spirits around us. And thirdly, through the Adhyatmic or the internal realm, which refers to us as having peace in our bodies and our emotions and our senses and able to build peace. There's also other interpretations of saying peace 3 times or Shanti 3 times, such as controlling our emotional well-being, our physical well-being, and our mental well-being. So peace in Hinduism teaches us to become stronger and to associate with the divine. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to, we'll turn it to Chintan, who is our Fulbright scholar from India, and he is a scholar of Hindi. So we'll turn it over to Chintan.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chintan. I am a Fulbright scholar from India, and I'm really thankful to all of you for having me here. I come from a Hindu family, and to be specific, the family that I come from or the community that I come from, they have never been strict or very disciplined, I would say, about a particular line of thought. So what I understand from Hinduism, because my take towards peace is much from Bhakti Sampradaya, which is a Bhakti stream of consciousness, which grew much in Maharashtra in Marathi language. But to be precise here, I'm going to talk about once again Krishna, the figure that I love not only as a god but as a human being. And the characteristics are more of in action and less of in words. So when we talk of Hinduism, our concentration much more grows towards Gita, which is nothing but a dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. Arjun being the first class monitor, that I always say, the first class monitor of a mankind, asking questions to Krishna, the first teacher. And the way Krishna tries to answer all this, I think in all the chapters has the message of tolerance and peace interwoven. So in Hinduism, peace is not only important within oneself, but it is highly important to act peaceably toward others because of the consequences. Karma and reincarnation are extremely important as the individual constantly strives towards a better rebirth and ultimately moksha, which is a permanent state of peace or enlightenment. So moksha is the last stage where you are attaining, where you are coming out of the consciousness and connecting yourself to the ultimate soul, the ultimate God. As the Bhagavad-Gita says, the way of peace is achieved through discipline. This ties into the teaching of ahimsa, which is non-violence, and correct dharma, which is right religion, as action towards others can determine the outcome of future rebirths. A Hindu must observe these core teachings to ensure that they can achieve complete peace. Now, inner peace is probably the most important and prevalent thing for a Hindu adherent to pursue. It is said that a person, by disassociating oneself from all earthly desire, such as lust, greed, and anger, is then able to achieve inner peace. The Bhagavad-Gita says, one who abandons all desires and becomes free from all longing and the feeling of I and my attains peace. There are ways by which a Hindu can accomplish disconnection from earthly things, which is also a very Buddhist thought, which says attachment is the cause of pain. So from earthly things to pilgrimage, through participation in yoga and meditation. And then once again, Krishna comes in and says in Gita that if you cannot meditate, how can you experience inner peace? And if you cannot experience inner peace, how can you know joy? Meditation can also help reduce stress, which is highly important for attaining inner peace, particularly for a contemporary adhener. Other ways in which to attain inner peace are through performing the ritual or puja, or other such as devotional act towards God. As the Gita states, peace is knowing God and nothing else. Hinduism has contributed to world peace in a great number of ways, but Hinduism advocates the importance of achieving inner peace before attempting to spread peace throughout the community. So it's from one to many. rather than seeking it outside. If you can seek it inside first and then take it to the community and then to the rest of the world. So senior Hindu monk Swami Bhaskarnanda is the highly regarded author of many Hindu books, and he has stated, quote unquote, that the wise say that ever-enduring peace can never be obtained through external means. Through spiritual discipline alone, this inner peace can be acquired. Therefore, say the wise, may all try to create peace within before trying to create any temporary or superficial peace in the world through external means. Having said this, attaining world peace is also an extremely important person in the lives of many Hindu adherents, but only possible once inner peace has been realized. One of the greatest examples of an individual advocate for peace is, we all know, Mahatma Gandhi. Throughout his life, he campaigned for world peace, displaying his convictions by setting an example. Gandhi brought the ancient concept of non-violence back into the society and refused to act violently or retaliate in any way, despite his persecutions. Non-violence is the greatest force at the disposal of mankind. It is mightier than the mightiest weapon of destruction devised by the mankind ever. That's how Hinduism, Gita, and Gandhi comes into place for me. The process of peace is much starts within, and then it gets translated. You don't have to do anything to do that. You don't have to do any. You don't have to put any efforts to translate the inner peace into the world once you are settled with yourself. The external peace and the community peace becomes a byproduct of you being peaceful with your own self. That's how I see Hinduism and the peace together. Thank you.
All right, so next we have Professor Larson, who is the chair of the Department of Religious Studies. So he'll talk a bit about peace in the Christian tradition. Professor Larson.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to join you today, and my thanks to Iqbal for putting together this wonderful event. I'd like to wish my Muslim brothers and sisters an Eid Mubarak wa Saeed. I hope that your experience of Ramadan has been wonderful. Really appreciate the Muslim fasting that to pull us away from the mundane and the earthly concerns so that we can concentrate on the spiritual. And I hope it's been a wonderful month for you all. I'd like to speak a little bit today about peace in the Christian tradition. Jesus, at the core of his message, was a concept that he often referred to as the kingdom of God. And he used many different ways of talking about this. He was famous for the parables, kind of the earthly stories that he would tell about the kingdom of God. But also when he spoke about it directly, he always spoke about it as a kingdom of values. The people at the time of Jesus knew very well about kingdoms. They had been experiencing for about 100 years the kingdom of Rome. That was an external empire. Kingdom always has at its heart the idea of power. And they certainly knew about the power of the Romans. That was a very early, powerful kingdom. But Jesus contrasted the earthly rule of the Romans that was outside and sometimes oppressive, very often oppressive, with the kingdom of God. And the kingdom of God for Jesus was more an interior attitude. One time, Jesus was discussing with the Pharisees, a Jewish group of the day, and he often spoke with them. They questioned him, he questioned them, and they went back and forth discussing ideas. One day, the Pharisees asked him, well, what's the sign of the coming of the kingdom? And what does it look like? And Jesus said, it doesn't come like an earthly kingdom, but he said, the kingdom of God is among you, that it's here and now. And you can't see it with spiritual eyes. It's a kingdom of a different plane. And it's it's a power, an organizing principle that works inside of the person first to give them the ability to act according to God's nature. It has been really wonderful hearing the other speakers talk about peace in their religions. It reminded me there's a passage in the New Testament from a little part of the New Testament called the letter of James. And it says, where do wars and disagreements among you come? They come from your own desires and lusts. But the opposite of that, and somebody had mentioned it before, that real peace is not just the absence of war, but it's something deeper. And it comes from inside and from within. One of the followers of Jesus, one of the greatest of the early leaders in the church, was a disciple by the name of Paul. And in one of his letters to a church in an area of the Roman Empire called the city of Corinth, it's in Greece today, he wrote to them and he talked about what love is, because ultimately the kingdom of God is love. And that's the principle, working through people, animating people, enabling people to overcome the bad things of the world. So I just like to read a passage from the New Testament, and it's one of the greatest passages in all the Bible, and it talks about what is the nature of love. So this is 1 Corinthians 13. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I have become sounding brass or a clanging cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, but have not love, it profits me nothing. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails, but whether there are prophecies, they will fail. Whether there are tongues, they will cease. Whether there is knowledge, it will vanish away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part, but when that which is perfect has come, then that which is in part will be done away. When I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became an adult, I put away childish things. For now we see in a mirror, dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I know, as I also am known. And now abide faith, hope, love, these three, but the greatest of these is love. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eric. That was amazing. Very beautiful. All right. I would just turn it over very quickly. I don't know if Ana Maria had anything else that she would like to say, and then I'll turn it over to Samaniji Chaitanya Pragya to talk to us a little bit about the Jain tradition. All right. Samaniji.
Iqbal, can I take 5 minutes? Can I start?
Sure.
Can
Yeah.
give a chance to some others. Speak.
Sure. Okay. All right. But yeah, so I have one of the scholars was not able to come, Professor Nirmal Bade. So I will read his short words, and then we'll turn it over to Samaniji. All right. So this is from Professor Nirmal, who's talked to us from the Jain tradition. He says, Jai Jinendra, which is the traditional way of greeting people in the Jain tradition. I'm grateful for this gathering and the opportunity to share. Jains consider two aspects of peace in the core teachings and practices. First, and perhaps the most important, is the inner peace of the individual being. The second is the peaceful coexistence of all living beings, which cannot be achieved without achieving some form of inner peace individually. In the Bhagavad-Gita Sutra, there's a dialogue between Mahavira, who we attribute our current Jain thought, and to his disciple Gautam. The dialogue underscores the importance of inner peace. Gautam asked Mahavir, what is the nature of self? To which Mahavira replies to Gautam, the nature of self is inner peace. Gautam then asks, what is the ultimate goal of self? Mahavir answers to Gautam, the ultimate goal of self is to attain inner peace. Thus for Jains, inner peace being essential nature of self Religion is nothing but a practice for the realization of one's own essential nature or achieving the state of inner peace. One of the most important is to practice non-harming or ahimsa. Mahavir declared, all living beings wish to live. None wishes to die. Jains have gone far and deep in their exploration of the notion of what a living being is and how to avoid harming them. It is a non-anthropocentric philosophy in that there is as much credence given to non-human beings as much as to humans. Jain monks and the laity are careful not to injure even the minutest of beings. They're acutely aware that we are surrounded by life all around us, and that all of this life deserves respect, and that it is always endangered by our thoughts and our actions as humans. Non-harming as a means to establish peace is a personal or inner experience of peace. It is also equally applied in the social life. When it is practiced outwardly, it becomes an expression of peaceful coexistence. Outwardly, the principle of non-harming extends to other humans as well as non-humans. It implies that we are all interdependent. The well-being of one impacts the well-being of all. At the mental level, the idea of non-harming is extended towards every object, every place, every thing, every philosophy. It considers that reality is multifaceted. In order to realize the true nature of reality, one must see them all from different perspectives. When reality is not seen rigidly from a singular perspective, it does not reveal its true nature. One must see it from varied perspectives and then transcend all of those perspectives to actually realize it. The principle of multiplicity of beings, or anekantavad, is a key ingredient in achieving inner peace and peaceful coexistence. Harming other beings, physically or mentally, harms our own being. When each of us is engaged in the well-being of the other, the world is a better place to live. The peace of society depends on the mental makeup of its members. It is upon each and every individual to work towards the peaceful coexistence of all. I'll close my comments by quoting the Sutta Katanga Sutra. As the earth is the abode for all living beings, so the peace is the abode for all enlightened beings of past, present, and future. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Philippe, who will talk a little bit about his perspective with spirituality, and then we'll finally turn it over to Samaniji Chaitanya.
Hello, my name is Philippe Shami. Last December, I graduated from FIU. I got my MA in religious studies after a very long journey. I'm so happy to see so many familiar faces and meeting people for the first time. You know, people like Iqbal, who I only know through Zoom. So my interest has always been comparative religion and specifically comparative mysticism. I have been asked to speak, I think because I'm from Haiti, on indigenous traditions. However, I'm afraid I do not know much about indigenous traditions, though I have benefited from the excellent classes of our wonderful Professor Waku. Therefore, I think it's best that I speak and represent what I know best, that is mysticism and what is sometimes called the perennial philosophy. In a very real sense, mysticism and the perennial philosophy are outliers, or rather inliers, because they are at the core, at the very depth of the truth of all the great traditions, as I think we have seen even today. Like the indigenous traditions, mystics and perennialists, as a rule, are viewed with suspicion by all orthodoxies. So I think I may be allowed this slight change. So now, why is mysticism, which is in fact at the core of all religion, also an outlier? In large part, this has been due to the fact that mysticism and perennialism, in all of its forms, has always insisted, not in theory, not by lip service, but in actual daily practice, that a place of honor and respect be made at the table for all individuals of all belief or non-belief, without any exception whatsoever. Now, unfortunately, taking seriously this idea has remained, and I'm glad that we are exceptions, and will probably remain marginal and radical, even within departments of religious studies, which departments, incidentally, in fact, historically stem from this very idea of a place at the table for one and all. Now, why does mysticism and perennialism insist on the promotion and promulgation of such an unpopular idea? A large part of the answer lies in the dichotomy between theory and practice, in the truisms that all religion and all of us, including myself, say that we accept but rarely fully practice daily. The simple idea that all men and women are brothers, that we are each and every one of us children of a common Father, Mother God, who suffers to see his children fighting, abusing each other, disrespecting each other, or simply viewing each other as others. And as children of God, we are each and every one of us sacred individuals, called to a sacred godly purpose or mission here on earth, which each of us must discover individually and fully, freely, without compulsion and without interference, for his or her own self. As beings struggling to discover, successfully or less successfully, our own purpose, which is the will of God who dwells in us and with us, we therefore are deserving of love and respect, even if and even as, in failing to do so, we may be severely punished for misdeeds and crimes we may have committed. It is to be noted that this is the reason why people of true spiritual vocation visit and pray for the most heinous criminals in jail. We are called to pray for our enemies, as Jesus Christ taught, to love our enemies. This deep respect and reverence for enemies is perhaps best exemplified by the Muslim mystic, the Emir Abdel Kader. The Emir so loved his own prisoners of war, the French, when the French were taking over Algeria, that the example he left of the treatment of the prisoners of war, that his own prisoners of war, has served as a model for the Geneva Convention on the Treatment of Prisoners. The Emir ran out of money, according to his biographers, when he had French prisoners and he could no longer feed them. So he decided to free them. This was completely unknown at the time. It is said that he treated his prisoners so well that the French were afraid that their own troops would defect to their own enemy because of the Emir Abdelkader's saintly kindness and mercy. Another important reason why mystics and perennialists insist on this idea of love for all mankind and all mankind's ancient and venerable belief systems, each of which contributes to the work of the great architect, as the Freemasons call him or her who is that it is only on such a solid and necessary basis that genuine and lasting peace can be imagined, let alone established. Let me end by saying how happy I am that this Eid banquet has been organized and that you have all come. To me, it means that the spirit of what I have called perennialism truly exists as a living tradition here at my alma mater, FIU. May it continue and may its example be a beacon of hope in peace and peace in a world at war. Salam alaikum. Thank you.
So we have one more representative of the Jain community. So I will turn it over to Sapan Bafna, who is one of the trustees of the Jain Education and Research Foundation.
Thank you very much, Iqbal, and hello and reverence to everyone. Jai Jinendra to our Samni ji as well. Iqbal, thanks for inviting us and doing this beautiful gathering. It's a nice tradition you are starting. So first of all, I do want to wish all Muslim brothers and sisters, right? And I should not even say Muslim, to all brothers and sisters, a very happy Eid-ul-Fitr and all what it means in terms of compassion and empathy for the entire world. So thanks for organizing this. And I hope all who celebrated Eid had a a good Eid with all what's going around in the world. I think we need these moments for sure. And I'll only take a minute. I'm sure our Samniji will talk more in detail about the Jainism side of peace. But more from a layman's term, I almost feel that all religion have a piece of peace and compassion in all of their teachings. And of course, Jainism, one of our three pillars, as other speakers have also talked, is about non-violence or ahimsa. And it is spoken in many different ways, in many detailed ways. But the most simplistic approach of this is having sort of that eternal peace and bliss in oneself, and then manifesting it outside to everything and everyone, all living beings. So again, we may have a difference in views on it, but even that is to be celebrated. And that comes to the second pillar of Jainism, which is around what is in Hindi, we call it as anekantvad, or the multiplicity of views, wherein we celebrate all views which lead us to the same path or the same goal. And again, so I sort of am contrasting at the same time, trying to relate as much as possible, because this is really about the interfaith message. And the last piece, which is very difficult to do, especially for laymen, Jains or otherwise, is the principle of aparigraha, which is the non-possessiveness. It's very difficult to become a monk, and especially one where you leave all kinds of detachments. But that also, I think, is the road to peace, because the more we are detached, the more we are not attaching ourselves with the bonds, sort of takes us to the message of peace for everyone. I mean, in what we see, what's happening in the entire world is about people want more land. It's almost like the land they have is not sufficient for them in some areas, and in some cases we see the symptoms of these atrocities which happen. So I hope the message of ahimsa, of anekantvad, of aparigraha, which is what Jains stand for, finds its commonality across all world religions, and we reach towards broader peace for everyone. So with that, again, Iqbal, thank you for having me and having me speak for a few minutes.
All right, thank you so much, Saban. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot. And our final speaker for today, and one of our great colleagues and a scholar of Jainism, is Samniji Chaitanya Pragya. So I will have her join us and talk to us a little bit about, peace within the Jain tradition, and she'll be our final speaker for today.
Thank you, Iqbal, for this wonderful gathering and program. Today we are talking about the peace, and not only the peace of individual or a particular society or community or particular country, but we are talking about this global peace. And we are talking from the background of religious traditions, different religious traditions. So what is most needed this time to get global peace is that every religion has to discuss those lofty ideas which are available in their particular traditions, which can unite humanity, which can connect different faiths together, and not to create any kind of hatred towards other faiths or towards the people of other community. So that is most needed, and for that, what we can do. So just I would like to share my presentation, and through that presentation, we would try to understand what Jainism has tried to do to promote peace, not only peace of the particular community or individual, but global peace. So what Jainism has shared for that, I would like to discuss it through my presentation. Could you please allow me to share my presentation?
Yeah, 1 minute, Samniji.
Okay.
Okay, you should be able to share now.
So my presentation is visible to everybody. My presentation is visible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So today I'm talking about the philosophy of Arikant, which has been a crucial or core principle of Jainism, which has promoted peace in true sense. And you can see that how Jain people are living near to all different other communities without any disputes, without any unrest, and with peaceful coexistence because of this view, which has been given by Lord Mahavir by the name of Arikant. Mahavir, the main teaching of Jainism is that Rago Yadoso Biya Kamma Biyam. There are two elements which are creating all kinds of evils or unrest in the world, and they are Rag and Dvesh. Rag means attachment, and Dvesh means hatred or aversion. If we could overcome these two bestial instincts which are found in the mind of human beings or all living beings in some form or other, then there is always peace and harmony. There is no disputes, no unrest, no fightings, no wars. But it is very difficult to overcome these animal bestials which are found in our existence. So Mahavir has tried to teach those kind of lofty things which can help us to overcome this animal or bestial instincts which are ingrained in human existence or the worldly living beings especially. So he is talking about that how we can be more peaceful or how we can be more receptive, positive to other traditions, to other views. And for that, he taught the principle of Arikant. He said that truth is multifaceted. It has many dimensions. And you can see it from very different angles. And it is not necessary that each and every tradition who is trying or which is trying to understand the truth, they are perceiving the truth from same angle. So try to understand others' views also, try to respect others also, try to have positive dialogue with other traditions and try to understand what the view they are looking at the truth, they are using for looking at the truth. So if that kind of understanding can be developed in the mind of all the religious traditions people, I think there is no matter of fighting, no matter of wars, no matter of hatred, any kind of religious hatred or fundamentalism. So it is very required that we have to develop a very open-mindedness in which we can try to understand others' view, we can be able to respect others' views. And if we could not promote our things in a positive way, or then we have to be very much thoughtful of our own approach rather than trying to remove others. This is Arikant, which has been now discussed in the field of science also, that truth is multifaceted and different views may be apparently very different or rival, even though they may be very much complementary to each other. And if we could see both the aspects, both the views together, then we can have greater truth, more clarity about the truth, rather than thinking that he is or she is thinking in different manners, so he is wrong or she is wrong or other traditions are wrong. So that kind of thinking can be overcome if we could understand that truth is multifaceted and it can be pursued in very different ways. Mahavir also talked about the way of speaking. Our way of speaking must be so polite, and it must also be so open that other traditions can also share their views in the same language, and you can understand that. So that kind of principle Mahavir has said in the form of Shadavada. It means whenever you speak, you should speak in a particular context, referring to particular context, and that must be very much clear that you are perceiving or you are talking this thing from this angle or in this context, then other people can also share their views in the same way, and that they are talking their things in from that particular point of view. Then there can be positive dialogue, positive mutual understanding, and we can accept others' views in the same language in which we are talking. So this is the, you can see there is one theory, Gödel's incompleteness theorems in science. So they are also talking that the common people have very much limitation of knowing the reality. So nobody should try to claim that whatever is said in their tradition or in their philosophy or in their religion, that is only the final truth and no other. So if we could understand that, yes, all the great people of all the religious traditions, they have very open views and they have very much higher knowledge. So they could say something which is really beyond our understanding sometimes, but still we should accept that whatever is said from in particular context and not in all different other contexts. So the speech has also some limitations. So we can know the truth from very different angles, but it is not necessary that we can say all the different views or different aspects together about the one truth. So there may be limitation of our speech or the limitation of speech of the great sages or seers, that they could not say everything what they could come to know in their higher consciousness. So I try to understand what is said in other traditions also, and what is the limitation. Everywhere there is some limitation. So we have to accept that we could not say everything in its entirety, but everything is said in a relative sense or from particular angle or in particular context. Another very important principle which is said under this particular Shadvad, that you can see that even one truth can be explained in many different ways. So there is one principle in Jainism which is known as Saptabhangi, sevenfold predication. You can see that there is one thing which has a red color, also green color, blue color, and also yellow color. Sometimes you choose only the yellow color and you say that, oh, it is very wonderful, it is very beautiful thing because it is having yellow color. But there are two other colors too. We cannot see at a glance all the three, and we cannot talk of all the three colors together in one sentence. So other can focus on the other color and the third one can focus on the third color. Thing is one and the same, but it has three aspects, three colors. And by the combination of the three colors, you can make four other sentences. So just I want to say that even one truth can be explained in different 7 ways. There is not one way to explain one and the same truth. So we can claim that, oh, we are talking about the truth or ultimate truth, but that truth can also be spoken in a very different language. So that it is also necessary that we should try to understand the language. What words or in what sense what is being said. If we can understand, then there are so many disputes just because of misunderstanding of the words, misunderstanding of the explanations or interpretations or the main message of the great sages or seers of particular tradition. So that can also be sought out if we could understand that things can be said in a very different manner. And in different times, so we find different types of words, different types of language, different meanings. And until and unless we try to understand all those things, we might sometimes misinterpret the great messages of the great sages or seers or pagambers or whatever is higher authority of all traditions. So it is also necessary that we have to analyze the language also in a proper context. Nayavad is another corollary principle of Anekantavada. And this Nayavad says that whatever is being said or whatever is being perceived, it is always mostly perceived in a relative context from particular one angle and not from all different other angles. So this is one-sided view, which is called a Nay. Anekanta talks about all aspects. Nay talks about the particular one aspect. So this Nay says that everybody is perceiving truth from mostly from one angle and not from many different other angles. So until and unless we see all different angles which are being expressed by different people and in different traditions, it is very difficult to know that what truth is ultimately. So just looking at one view, we should not misunderstand, or we should not mistake that it is only the complete truth. It is only the final truth, which is spoken in our tradition also. So this is another principle which also says that we have to be very much clear that our views are also very limited. They are also contextual. They are also referential. Until and unless we become our reference or context very clear, we would have always some differences, and because of that we think that we are very different, we are rivals, and we have some kind of hatred towards because of that. So this kind of mentality, how we can develop to see, to locate the truth which is expressed in all different traditions. So that kind of things if could come in our religious teachings from all religious different what we say places, then I don't think that peace is very far from us. It is within us, and it is here and now. Just we have to open our mind to locate the truth in a wider perspective, in a wider horizon. There are so many other things which we can discuss about it, that most of the disputes and cultural hatred or wars or whatever it is because of the perverted view. The perverted view, the root cause of all conflicts is perverted view. We are not knowing about the truth as such. And we have created our own truth and we are disputing on that. So how we can have right view about the truth, how we can know the truth as such. And it is possible when we come out of the attachment and aversion. Attachment may be towards our own views. If I am attached to Jain view, then it is also a kind of attachment. If someone is attached to his religion, then it is also a kind of attachment. So try to understand, to come out of these different types of attachments which we are having inside, and try to see the truth in a right way. Then there is no matter of conflicts. Everything can be easily sorted out. So now what is the right view? Right view is that we should try to understand truth from very different angles, from different perspectives, in different contexts, in different temporal and spatial background or religious background. Then we may have wider view, very holistic view, inclusive view, rather than exclusive view, which is causing unrest, which is causing losing peace in society and community. So there, how much time
you can wrap up. So we're
okay.
a little bit over time, but thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
So there are so many other principles. I'm not going very much detail, but just I'm talking that there are 5 basic principles of Anekant. One is called relativity. Other one is relativity. We have to be very much clear that our life is not isolated. We cannot live without support of other people. So relativity must also be in our view. Next is reconciliation. We should look for the points of agreement between all different traditions, rather than looking at what is different. We should try to look at the points of agreement which are very common to all in all traditions, and we should emphasize on those points. Coexistence, we should respect the existence of other people also, and try to live with them peace. So equality, we should also see that as we are important on the earth, as our religion is important, we should also give the same importance to others' existence and also others' religion. So equality is also very important. And then last is tolerance and freedom of thought. Everybody has right, everybody has to say power to say something. So we have to honor the respect of others' thought, others' freedom, and also try to tolerate if something is different from us. But if it is true, then we have to accept or we have to tolerate. So these are the lofty things which have been discussed throughout this Jain tradition, which has been going on from centuries, and it is promoting all these principles, and that's why Jains try to live with peace with each and every community, whether it is Buddhist or whether it is Muslims or Christian or Jew. And I'm working with Iqbal, no? So in the view of other people, Jain and Muslims both, it looks that they are very different or very opposite traditions, but we are living, we are working with full harmony and with a happy blending. Absolutely. So it is not all souls are pure. The Iqbal is very pure from within. So I find that he is a very good guy. So all people are very good from within, but just you have to show your goodness outside also and implement in action, just not to talk in talking.
Thank you so much, Samniji. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So with that, I want to conclude our session. Thank you so much again to Radical Partners and the Florida Endowment for the Humanities for helping us to put on this Interfaith Eid celebration. We were able to connect scholars from around the world. And I think one of the things that we're planning on doing is continuing this discussion and dialogue with community members from all different traditions. So with that, I will allow our in-person participants to go and have lunch and to visit. And I'll stay on if anybody wants to talk virtually as well. So thank you again for coming. And with that, we conclude our session. Thank you again.
Very nice, Iqbal.
Thank you, Kalai. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
Iqbal is the living example of harmonious personality.
Yes.
Kalai, I think we definitely love to incorporate next time Valalar studies. I think that'd be wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can share in the chat my thoughts to everyone.
Yeah.
Let me see if it let me do it. Wow.
Yeah, sure. 1 minute, Kalai. Let me just give you the co-hosting privileges. Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't let me type things?
Wait, 1 minute. Yeah, you should be able to do that now. Yeah.
Oh. Weird. Hang on. I can try. No, it doesn't do it. It's okay.
You should be able to type it in. Yeah.
Oh, it's too long.
Oh, okay. Well, send it to me and I can send it to everybody. Whatever links or documents you have, I can send it to everybody that's attended.
Right. No, and yeah, sure. And it'll give me time to also run it by others.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was just listening to you guys and I was just thinking, how is the Valalar teaching resonates?
Right.
Everything being said, how he said, God is in each one of us.
Right.
And he's the spark of the, if the God is light, we are the spark. And he uses very simple examples. We may be different religion and rituals, but we can be eating different cuisine, but hunger is a universal feeling. and so is God. And that's a very, in a nutshell, it's very nicely said. And for people who are seeking enlightenment and seeking to unite, and that's all you have to focus on. So yeah, I'll share with you my writing.
Yeah, please, that'd be wonderful. Thank you so much for that.
And congratulations and Eid Mubarak.
Very Mubarak. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Samniji. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming, Jai Jinendra. And to Eric and everybody, really appreciate it. Thank you, Narendra Bhai. All right, so I'm gonna end, and then hopefully we'll see you in person later this summer then. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.